This happened a few hours ago during my night shift, and for some reason was so disturbing to me. I'm a police officer in a big city, so I've had to deal with pretty awful sights and smells while doing this job, usually on a daily basis. This, however, was something even more unusual. There's a large homeless population in the city, with mental health and substance abuse being common issues amongst this population. It isn't uncommon to see a homeless person suffering from mental illness, acting strange late in the night. And if they aren't hurting themselves or anyone else, that's fine with me. It's about 11 p.m., and I'm stopped at a red light on a very quiet and dark street. I'm the only one on the road. I look to my right, just observing the street, and see a skinny man in ragged clothing on the sidewalk with their feet planted on the ground, belly arching towards the sky, and their hands planted on the ground over their head. I thought, that's kind of interesting. While holding this position, the person snaps their head towards me, then look back towards the sky, and proceeds to do some fucking exorcist spider walk up the sidewalk at a speed which seemed like it was the only way that they walked. I immediately thought, what the fuck, as this man navigated the sidewalk in a horror movie fashion. I have no idea why that style of walking is so disturbing, but Jesus Christ, did it bring back some childhood memories of the Exorcist movie, scaring the shit out of me. I work at a coffee shop. I'm usually always the only person on this shift, which means opening and closing by myself. Even though I'm in Baltimore, I was pretty aloof and not too worried about anything happening. The other day I had two guys that live across the street from my job come in and tell me that over the past 2 weeks, there's been some older man with a truck and he's been sitting and watching me at least 5 separate occasions. Never stays less than an hour, just sits and watches. They weren't sure who he was watching at first, but one day when he was out there, I had to walk to the store, and it was obvious that I was the only one that he was watching. It kind of freaked me out how obvious I was. Then the other night, as the last customer left, there was a man standing in front of the store, waiting for them to leave. He fit the description that the men gave me, so I was a bit weary. He tried to get in once he saw that they were gone, and I was alone, so I thought fast and locked the door and said that we were closed. He became visibly frustrated and started asking if he could talk to me, that he couldn't hear me through the glass. He had a creepy, almost excited look on his face, like a dog about to get fed. I told him no, that I had to close and that he needed to go, and he started to knock on the glass harder and harder. I told him I was going to call the police and walked to get my phone, and when I looked back, another store owner had come out to see if I needed any help, and he was gone. I haven't seen him since, but my job had started getting a lot of these hang-up calls recently. I have a taser and pepper spray, but I'm only 5'2" and 100 pounds. I don't know if I'll be able to defend myself well enough against a 200-pound dude. Properly creeped out and didn't know what I should do. Don't really want to be the subject of an episode of investigation, discovery. This was about 20 years ago, and I still think about this creeper from time to time. I was working the overnight shift at a local gas station, 7-Eleven, and part of the overnight shift was building the Sunday newspapers. The paper company would deliver stacks of different sections, and we'd have to assemble them and put them out for sale. We had a little nook set up in the back corner of the store where people would do this. You could clearly see the door from the spot, and we didn't get a lot of traffic in the middle of the night. We had 2 panic buttons in the store, one mounted under the counter and a portable one that I always carried in my apron pocket. One evening, I'm back in the Nook, and a guy walks in, straight back to me. He is very tall, thin, and pale. He is dressed in all black, including a full-length black trench coat. He asked me if I've seen anything strange tonight. I'm thinking that he's the strangest thing that I've seen in all a while. I replied with no, and asked him if there was anything that I could do to help him. He then went on this rant about how he is on a mission from God to wipe out all the demons that are walking amongst men. He can see people's true forms, and that's why he carries this for protection. As I am simultaneously shifting myself and pressing my pocket panic button, this wacko pulls out a fucking cross out of his pocket. It had to be like 7 inches long. He then hollers that God is calling and runs out of the door. A few seconds later, the cops show up, and I fill them in. They drove up and down the stretch of road that we were on and didn't find anyone on foot. They came back and told me to keep the panic button closed, and they'd check on me periodically. That was one of the longest shifts of my life, and I quit shortly after. You see a lot of crazy working on the night shift, but that guy was a whole lot of crazy that I didn't want to meet again. I just got home from my job delivering pizzas in a small town in North Carolina, and my heart's still pounding from what I saw tonight. I just started recently, and this was the first time I've ever done a night shift. I hope it's my last. I was going back to the store after a delivery a little after 9 o'clock when I saw it riding towards me on a bicycle. It looked like a person for the most part, but it was wearing one of those black plastic Halloween masks, like you can get from any store. The mask had a wavy line from the top left, wearer's right, to the bottom right, which separated the mask into a purple half and half orange. I couldn't tell what it was wearing because it was too dark and the clothes were black. Out of the top of the mask, there was something that could have been hair or butt. It seemed strange to me. The hair was at least a foot tall on its own, and the only way I can describe it is like a plant of some sort. It looked like a bunch of tangled branches and vines all sprouting out of this thing's head. It was doing a wheel stand all the way down the street towards me without losing an iota of balance. The thing that really tipped me off was that this thing wasn't human, though it was the aura that it gave off though. I couldn't stop looking at it for more than a second. It drew my eyes almost magnetically, and every second that I looked at it, the more terrified I felt. It wasn't just my natural reaction of fear either. This was powerful and evil. My head started pounding. I was screaming involuntarily, and tears welled up in my eyes. I was about to take a turn when I saw it coming towards me as soon as I completed the turn, barely able to look at where I was going. The thing just disappeared. I turned around to look back down the street, and it was gone. I was still extremely rattled, panting like a whining dog, but I knew I had to make it back to the store. I made a slight left onto this long avenue where my store is located when I saw it riding towards me again, still doing a wheel stand. It started out on my right, but rode around me to get to my left as I proceeded towards the store. I was trying my best to outrun it, but it was keeping up with me exactly until it suddenly jumped off of the bike onto the sidewalk and caught it without effort. I was still screaming and tearless crying this whole time, but I whipped my truck into that store, hoping it meant safety. To my horror, I saw the bicycle, not belonging to anyone in the store, leaned up against the wall directly in front of my parking spot. I looked across the street to where I had seen it and saw nothing was there. I hesitated to even leave my truck, but I had to complete my shift, so I went inside with my guard up as much as I could. My coworkers were all fine, but there were no customers in the store. That's not unusual considering the time of night, but that meant that this bicycle owner was MIA. I rubbed my face for a few moments in front of the fan and grabbed my next delivery. I exited the store to discover that the bike was gone, even though I hadn't noticed anyone moved it. I worked the rest of my shift until 10 and didn't see the thing again. That's not to say that there was nothing out of the ordinary, but the bike stalker was gone at least. The whole way home, I was unnaturally paranoid around every curve and corner. I feared that it would be standing in the road waiting for me. I could see it in my head. The vision I had of it standing on a certain bridge on my way home just felt so real, and I nearly drove into the creek. I'm home now, in what I hope is safety, but I definitely am still on edge. I've seen a lot of things in my 20 years, but I have never experienced anything like that. Thanks for watching, I really hope you enjoyed it. I decided to bring back another one of the topics that I used to do, so let me know how it is. Make sure to like, comment, and if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. We've got a lot of content coming very soon. I'm still trying to adjust to this new schedule and everything, so just bear with me. But make sure to check out the links in the description as well, like Twitter, Instagram, everything like that. Make sure to check out the channel members as well, if you would like to see bonus content. But with that being said, stay safe, stay scary, and I'll see you in the next one.